just briefly on to last night, did you enjoy sort of meeting a few more fans, I guess, than you would do in a normal match day sort of scenario?
Yeah, definitely. Good, really good evening to obviously, go into an area where, the fans congregate and obviously get to meet some of the people, which, as I said last night, I think one of the questions, immersing myself in the community in the city and getting to know it, and, the fans for me is a really important part and responsibility that I have in this position. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a really good evening.
And most coaches, managers, it's processes, not results, or the rest of it. But 4 points from the first 2 games, it must help settle things down, make you feel a bit more, okay, we're heading in the right direction already.
Yeah, of course. I think, you want to win every game, right? I think that's the biggest bit, yeah. But you joke around the processes and the results. There is an element of truth in that, but obviously you want to see the result come with it. Ultimately for me, I want performance, but I also want results. So, yeah, I was delighted to get the win, obviously, at the weekend. In what I thought was a really solid performance. I thought there was, a lot of positive aspects to come out of it, and as there will be in every game, lots of areas that we can do better. So, yeah, to get the clean sheet in the first game and be solid defensively to then, I thought when you look at the 2 goals we conceded, they were on us, not the opposition. So again, I think when I look at it, the actual defensive side of the game, despite conceding 2 goals, I was quite pleased with a lot of the defensive aspects, and I thought we carried a threat throughout as well.
Yeah, and that, looking at just the bare stats, said you've got one of the best defensive records in the Championship. Scoring more goals would definitely move you up the table, and I guess 3 in your first home game. That's a measure of what you need to do more to get where you want to go.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's everybody chipping in, right? I don't think we're putting it on one person. And again, I have to give a huge amount of credit to Pat, to be fair, on the set pieces. Obviously the winner at the weekend is something that he spends a lot of time on and does a lot of work on, and obviously something that doesn't happen by luck. It was a terrific winning goal. So yeah, that's the big bit. We need to be hard to beat, be compact, be organised, press when it's on to press. And at the same point then, bring a threat, which, like I said, I was pleased with that in terms of especially some of the attacking play at the weekend.
So are you trying to work on lots of little things at the same time? Because a lot of managers will come in, right, let's sort out the defence and then we'll bolt on top of that. Where are you in that sort of that process?
Yeah, still the early stages, still lots to do. But again, you have to prioritise, right? And even then, once you've addressed certain things, you'll have to revisit constantly. I think that's what the game looks like. And then I think it's, we want to try and fast track the group to get into a position where they're kind of clear on the principles of how we play and what we want to do. And then game to game, you can make small tweaks to that. So I have to say, I said it in most interviews and said it last night, I've been really impressed by how quickly the lads have, received the information, but then transferred it onto the pitch, which, has been really good.
Do you know when they're at 100% of understanding what it is you're asking them to do? Obviously, in any given game, it's not always going to be perfect, but can you sort of see how far on that line you are?
Yeah, I think you get a feel for it. I definitely think you get a feel for it. You can obviously, I send them out with knowing the context of what I've asked them to do, so I get the added obviously bonus of seeing if they're trying to implement it. Which said it after QPR, what we asked them to try and do, they did. But in terms of the finer detail, we hadn't worked on, so that wasn't quite there. So that's why for me, when I look at Saturday, for example, you can feel there's elements of progress from QPR and what we've been working on. So, I'm looking forward to seeing the journey that we go on in terms of getting better at understanding how we play.
Yeah, and is that a sort of a week's or a month's thing, or is it you have to sort of see as it goes along?
I think it's constant. I don't think it ever stops. I don't think you'll get to a stage where you go, right, we've cracked it. I think that's the biggest bit. I think it's there's levels, and we want to get to the highest level we can in terms of our performance. So I think it's constantly fine-tuning, it's constantly revisiting, it's constantly challenge people to be better at getting success on the pitch. So yeah, I think some will pick it up quicker than others. The group will pick up certain aspects probably quicker than others, and obviously what you then get is an opposition, whether it be twice a week, 3 times a week, once a week, trying to stop that. So again, it's that what we have the game plans, but I think it's really important the players understand that there's a huge element from us going to solve the problem. You do have to feel it on the pitch, which is equally important.
A couple of injury setbacks last week that you were sort of waiting a little bit in terms of knowing how long it's likely to be. Are you any further down that line in terms of knowing when Amon or Rob are going to be getting close to coming back?
No, Amon's going to be out for a considerable amount of time, to be fair. So we're not going to see Amon for a little while, and Rob's in a similar position where he's progressing. So there's no definitive return dates for them yet. No.
So, but months for Amon, that sounds like.
Yeah, it will be that. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of this match for Wednesday night, are we any bodies available that haven't been, or any knocks you picked up at the weekend?
No, same squad. So yeah, it'll be elements of consistency, which would be quite nice. We can build on some of the positives from the weekend. And again, I think there's that important balance of keeping elements consistent to it, but also then, having the strength that we've got in terms of, like I said, the options we had coming on at the weekend only, made us stronger, which I think is equally important. So, being able to, make some changes and keep the strength in the team has been, is a good position to be in.
Yeah, and then you're into the hoary old question of when you've got 3 games in a short space of time, do you have to start thinking about resting legs, making changes, those kind of things? Where do you sit on those? Are you one who wants to keep a winning team at all costs, or is it very much horses for courses?
Very much a squad game. So again, I think different games present different challenges and problems and, different solutions. So again, I'm not obsessed on, keeping this exact same team game to game just because we've won, because, tomorrow night will look completely different to Saturday. So again, I think it's, putting out a team that will allow us to get success in how we think we can hurt them. So, so certain bits need to stay consistent. I think that's important. And, what you don't want to do is change too much where people lose rhythm and you lose connections. I think we're in that stage where building relationships in the team are important. So we'll make tweaks here and there occasionally, but again, it won't be wholesale changes, no.
Okay, so Southampton, they've had some really impressive performances and results this season, and then a few games where it hasn't quite gone their way. What have you made of them as a team?
Yeah, strong. Obviously coming down, fully established Premier League club that have obviously just come down. So, and they've continued, managed to keep some of the lads that they had up in the Premier League. So, really strong squad, really, strength in depth. And then again, with Russell going in there, it takes time for, people to adapt to new methods and ways of working. So, yeah, we've done our work on them. I think the biggest bit then is, as always, it'll always shift back to us. That's where my focus goes. We'll do our work on them, but the emphasis goes back into our game plan. What do we look like out of possession? What do we look like in possession? How do we, identify some of the areas we feel we can exploit them and ultimately stop some of the, the strengths that they have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I might make myself sound a bit silly here, but is Cam suspended?
He is indeed.
He
yes.
is. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no. I assume Hayden's still a little way away.
Yeah.
Does that? Are you thinking about a system change? Therefore,
no, not really at the minute. No, I think we've got different options that can play at left back. So again, I think where we're at with that, I think we can. And even if you look at, we've been playing a back 4, but what we create in possessions are 3 anyway. So again, I think that's the biggest bit. Is what structure do we want to create without the ball, and what setup do we want to have out of possession. So, like I said, I thought people coming on at the weekend had a really good impact on the game. So again, it just reinforces that people are ready to step in when needed.
You say Russell, just using his first name. So would the implication be that you know him quite well? No,
not massively. No,
okay.
No. Obviously, I followed him to MK. So
yeah, well,
he'd done some previous work. And
yeah.
to be fair, I had a call with him. I have to give him credit for that. When we went in to MK, he picked up the phone and gave some advice, which was much appreciated. But I haven't spoken to him in a while, to be fair. So he's if you look at his journey, to be fair, he's done terrifically well in the progress he's made in his coaching career. So yeah, no, I'm not someone that I speak to regularly.
It's interesting though to go back to the MK time, how they went to you from him, given kind of the foundations he put at that club for quite a period of time, and you were the one to take it on. Do you see similarities in kind of your approach? How you two think about the game without knowing him well? But
obviously I know certain bits because of obviously what the lads at MK told us. So there's definitely certain similarities. I think in terms of probably both of us want to have a team that can dominate the ball and look to build up. But again, I think in terms of there's obviously differences as well. There's definite differences in how we work and other aspects. But again, like I say, it's not someone I've actually been in a room and sat down with and discussed the game with, which will be interesting at some point to do, I'm sure.
When you have a game between two teams wanting to be ball dominant, then what are the keys to basically ensuring that?
I think a big part of it, I think, is how you go between the phases of the game. So how do you go from defence to attack and what that attack looks like? Is it you go from defending into counter-attacking, or do you go into possession and control by keeping it? So again, I think there's some of the key bits is it's where and how you control space, and then that transitional moment, how do you then go from defending to attacking? I think there's some of the key bits, and it's like boxing, right, in terms of when you get styled. So it's a game I'm looking forward to be fair. I think it's one where the lads here are in a good spot, and to go to a club with big expectation, it's a terrific opportunity for us.
Because Saturday, I know everyone kind of focused on the possession aspect because we haven't seen that much in the last couple of years. But certainly in the second half, there was a lot of transition. Mark Sykes, coming into his own. So there's sort of several ways of how you go about, as you said there. Is that something you want the team to do? Is that something you kind of tell them to do, or do they kind of think on the fly regarding the game state?
It'd be a combination of both. I think what I'm quite clear is we break the game down into phases. Do you know what I mean? So I think quite clear this. We have three phases in possession, 3 phases out of possession, then you get transition where you go from in to out and out to in. So again, I think we try to give the players clarity in terms of an organisation in each of the phases. And the big bit, which is the game then, is the players have to step up and make good decisions in terms of, like I said, when we regain it, is it right to go and counter like we did really well second half at times? Or actually do we need to keep it? Which, if you probably look at the two halves, we probably kept it too well first half and didn't counter, whereas second half we probably countered too well but didn't keep it at times. So again, that's what you go through with players. I think is, we do a lot of work in terms of the video and coaching them to understand why they make the decisions they do. And again, I think the more we can educate the players to understand that, the better decisions they'll make in game.
Can I ask about the training pitches?
Yep.
And the new lines?
No. They're just actual just references and visuals for the players.
Okay.
I think it's just to give them certain clarities and keep certain elements of connection, throughout when you're moving up the pitch, across the pitch, when you're in possession. So they're more visuals and guidelines and references for the players.
You said about coaches being the best thieves. Is that something you've taken from someone else then, or is that something you've sort of formulated yourself?
Yeah, no. Other coaches do it in different way in terms of the number of channels they'll have across the pitch, or the number of whether you split it into thirds or quarters up the pitch. So it's not something new. I don't want to sit here and make out of
no, of course, but it's
something
that's not been done before here. So there is obviously interest there.
Yeah. So no, it's something we've seen before. I'm not going to sit here and take credit. It's people use it in different ways, and I'm sure we probably use it in different ways to other coaches. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say I've invented it now.
But have you stole it? Was there anyone you stole it from, or have you kind of adapted it?
Yeah, we've tweaked it and adapted it, so I'm not sure, to be fair.
Right, fair play. How's Ross doing? You mentioned last night that he's back on the grass.
Yeah, good. Ross is in a good spot, to be fair. He's a little ahead of schedule from that, from where we thought he might be. So again, that's real positive. Like I said, he got a really good reception off the players when he stepped onto the pitch yesterday. So it's about not especially him not getting too carried away, not rushing things, not the more you speed things up ahead of where he's ready, the more you increase the chance of a setback. So it's making sure we do everything right, making sure we hit every marker on every stage so that we can get him back quick as we can, but safely as we can.
You probably answered this in terms of the timeline. Is that something that's very much kind of flexible at the moment? There's no expectation as to when? Yeah,
you have to be adaptable with it. I think you have to be guided a little bit by how his body feels, especially when you've been out for a period of time. The actual injury itself might be okay, but you don't have a knock-on effect with, whether it be, you might be using certain muscles that your body hasn't used in a while, given the unpredictable nature and movements that are required in football. So, I think, like I said, it will be a case of getting him back safely, but as quickly as we can.